Hello all, myself Dr. Ajinkya Pawar, Medical Officer and Hospital Accreditation Coordinator working at NIN Pune. On behalf of our Director, Professor Dr. K. Satyalakshmi and our entire NIN's faculty, I welcome you all on 24th day of informative webathon on Insights of Gandhian Perspective on Health, organized by National Institute of Naturopathy Pune in association with Regional Outreach Bureau, Maharashtra and Goa. Naturopathy is practiced in every world region, spanning over 8 countries. Statutory regulation of the naturopathic profession currently exists in jurisdiction in North America, India, Europe, and Latin America. Naturopathy has been a part of Germany for centuries. Many of the principles and philosophies of naturopathy originated in Germany and Europe in the 16th and 17th century. The original naturopath prior to 90s from around the world were trained by European doctors using hydrotherapy, herbal medicine, and traditional forms of healing. Currently, European countries consider their practice of naturopathy as a system of healthcare that has evolved by incorporating with the traditional medicine of each country with the naturopathic principles, theories, modalities, traditions that have been codified in North America. Traditional forms of naturopathic teaching and practices are still common in Europe. So today is a chance to listen from a man who belonged from Europe, who took inspiration from India and spreading awareness of naturopathy. So let's begin with today's session. To begin with today's program, we will hear first Gandhi bhajan. So lyrics of the today's bhajan are अज्ञान के अंधेरों से हम चले, ज्ञान के उजालों की ओर ले चलो. Sung by Shrimant Bisht, Staff Artist Field Outreach Bureau, Nainital, Uttarakhand. So let's begin with today's bhajan.
दीवारों से हमें सत्य के शिवालों की ओर ले चलो, अज्ञान के अंधेरों से अभिमान है, कायरों से दूर है, कायरों से दूर रहे, हृदय वालों की ओर ले चलो, अज्ञान अंधेरों से हमें ज्ञान की उजालों की ओर ले चलो, अज्ञान के अंधेरों से. धर्म की मर्यादा न तोड़े, अपने
That was a great music for pleasuring the mind. As Gandhiji used to say, without prayer, there is no inward peace, and prayer is essential for progress in life. We thank you to Regional Outreach Bureau for arranging such a beautiful composition and Sharmishta ji too. Moving on the next session of Gandhi Katha, where today our director, Professor Dr. K. Satyalakshmi, will narrate the story of Gandhi's design on health, where Gandhiji has made a treatment to his helper.
Today I have come with a story narrated by Dattatreya Balakrishna Kalelkarji. This is 1930s when Mahatma Gandhi as well as Kalelkarji were in Yerwada prison, Pune. So it so happened the superintendent Major Martin had appointed one Mr. Dattoba to cook for Bapuji. Datopa did not really have very much to do other than some odd jobs like washing Bapu's clothes, warming up goat milk for Bapu, etc. The poor fellow had some pain in his foot and used to limp noticeably when he went about his work. One day, Bapu spoke to Major Martin about Datoba's foot pain. Major Martin gave some medicines, but that did not do any good to him. A month went by, and Bapu said to Martin, "Have you any objection to my treating this man?" "None whatsoever," said the major. Bapu said, "Diet is the most important part of my treatment. I shall provide him with the special thing I want him to eat." Major Martin agreed to this also. Bapu started giving treatment to Datoba. He began by keeping him on fast for a few days, cleaned his stomach with enema. Then, for a few days, he kept him on nothing but vegetables. Later on, he kept making adjustments in his diet on and off as per the need. Then it went on for some time. Then the lame man began to improve so much. One day he said to me, "I've been bothered by this pain for years now. Look how much better my foot is. I find no difficulty by walking whatsoever. I find it so surprising to be able to walk like other men." So, this is how nature cure helped Mahatma Gandhi help others. So, thank you, friends, for your time.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a beautiful narration on Gandhi's view on health and his experiments towards living a healthy lifestyle and promoting as well to his fellow mates. So moving on to next, today we will hear something on anions activity in particular with its providing and building a man force for promotion of naturopathy. It is my immense pleasure to introduce about National Institute of Naturopathy activities in the field of man building in naturopathy and providing standardized quality care for patient. Treatment assistant training course. It was one of the main activity since 2002 as NIN was in favor to providing and making aware of naturopathy through nursing courses. So treatment assistant training course, it is a 1 year full-time practical oriented courses where it was more focused on providing the nursing technical knowledge and also to train the nursing students who can work in many of the naturopathy hospitals where there was a growing demand for naturopathy. So far, NIN had conducted regular batches, including 28 regular batches who have completed the programs. So for the students, the qualified naturopathy and yoga physicians conduct classes for the students. So there had been thousands of students in naturopathy who had undergone the paramedical training courses, where the mission was to create a man building in the field of providing uniform and standardized nursing care throughout India, to make naturopathy and yoga therapy as a primary level nursing care teaching model. At present, there are n number of training programs had been conducted for students, disabled persons like blind, community health workers like ASHA and Anganwadi workers. In fact, in 2018 was nominated and received one of the prestigious awards for providing such training for community health workers. Currently, there are more than 5,009 certified paramedical students are providing naturopathy and yoga therapy nursing care nationally and internationally at various naturopathy hospitals and wellness centers. So TATC, the program are developed in a focus to have a better skills for the students who eager to learn a practical oriented courses, where NI used to conduct more of workshops for such students and participants who wants to improve their knowledge and better skills in applications of massage and manipulative therapy. So in this in-house program, NIN had been conducted such kind of a program where the peoples had been outreach for conducting such programs, where the focus was to improvise the skills in hands of the students. NIN's main focus was to provide a training in multiple area of the naturopathy. In particular, there had been a focus on providing naturopathy treatments such like hydrotherapy, mud therapy, and the nutrition concept based from the naturopathy. So there had been a training conducted for the students who participate in naturopathy diet center, where they learn the different cooking methods, the benefits of those cooking methods, and serving to the variety of food to the different people. So as I said, there had been multiple training have been conducted. So hydrotherapy and mud therapy was one of the important aspect of providing such kind of a treatment. So students undergo a practical oriented course where they learn the application of such treatments, especially the manipulative therapy, where they learn to apply the skills of massage on the various patients, and they learn what is the benefits of providing such kind of a treatment. And I has also promoting the myriad of health promotion activities. So students, especially the students undergoing such courses, are involved actively to promote health promotion to the various public and various sectors. So there had been students are been performing nukkad natak on the roadside to promoting health awareness, especially hand wash, hygiene techniques at the various places in Pune. NIN has also been keen to promoting the students as an extracurricular activities. So there had been a chance every year is been given to students to come on the stage and show their activities, especially in the extracurricular, where they can learn and be in the team to work as a team member. And then also, as I said, and I also conduct more of an participation programs, so where the naturopathy awareness is going, so students are made actively to be involved in such kind of events program. In addition to it, in 2018, National Institute of Naturopathy became a first naturopathy hospital accredited by National Accreditation Board of Hospital, Quality Council of India, under naturopathy sections of hospitals and clinic. And NI set a role model in providing standardized and quality care for patients. As such, National Accreditation Board of Hospitals is help us to provide a standardized care in also looking at the patient safety at the various areas of the hospital. So now moving on to the next session, let's hear something from the doctor, Dr. Kajal, on importance of fasting.
Good morning, everyone. So, in the last few sessions, we talked about different vitality indicators. So, based on the theme of this year Naturopathy Day, that is nurturing vitality through naturopathy, National Institute of Naturopathy have come up with the idea of monthly themes. So, this year November month's theme is fasting for life. Fasting is nothing but it's an abstinence of food for a particular period of time with our own will. To build up the blood on a natural basis, it is compulsory for our body to eliminate all the waste products, toxins, and poisons from the body. So now imagine if we consider like our body as a machine and the digestive system of a body as an engine. It's a common basic nature of human. We think that we get our energy from the food what we eat. So, keeping that in mind, we will keep eating the food for about 3 to 4 times in a day. So, but if you take a machine whose engine is on for 24 into 7, after some time, it is bound to get tired. It is bound to get like problem in their working capacity. In the same way, if the digestive system of the body is working for 24 into 7, it is bound to get accumulated with the foreign matters or morbid matter after some time. So, in that, to give rest to the body, to give rest to the engine of the body, we need to give a chance to the body with the help of fasting. Fasting can be considered as a promotive, eliminative experiment. Fasting has to be done under the guidance of your nature care physician. So the technique of the fasting, regimen of the fasting, how to break a fast, all these things has to be discussed with the physician at a prior note. A body free from the toxins or morbid matter will have impact on the vitality, activities of the organisms, as well as the individual cell that compose the body. In nature cure, there is no other practice that has so desirable effect on the body than the fasting with the right condition has. It subsides the craving, it subsides the appetite. It proves that the very basic primitive instinction of the body, we can master that a particular instinct. So it is suggested by Dr. Venkat Rao in one of the Panchatantra that fasting has to be done at least once a week to keep the body filled with vitality. So I'll end my today's discussion here. So tomorrow we will be talking about the theme of December month, that is vegetarian diet. So please stay tuned with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kajal. Thank you so much, Dr. Kajal, for providing insights on importance of fasting, how it has been related to vitality. So now moving on to the bench session of the webinar of speaking from a man from Europe and his insights and taking inspiration of a naturopathy. To speak something about today's guest, Mr. Robert Mazure. Mr. Robert Mazure is a founder of Integrated Healing Therapies, center based in central and north part of London. With his keen interest in healing suffering people, he turned towards acquiring naturopathy knowledge. Since 2011, he had visited India several times in order to enrich his skill set as a naturopathic practitioner. Very recently, he spent 7 months in India in various naturopathic hospitals, observing and participating in the treatment process of patients with a multitude of different disorders. While he spent a great deal of time recording and making a documentary, which will be the first of its kind to show the healing potentials of naturopathy and spread the awareness globally. He believes nature cure can promote health as well as treat the illness. Even if you do not have a complaint of any sort, you can still promote your own health through a structured detoxification process which strongly boosts immunity, reduce body activity, and improves energy level and mood. So with this note, I welcome Mr. Robert Mazure to share his experiences thought on today's webinar. The main element of the webinar to understand the reviving naturopathy in Europe, inspiration from India. India has been a hub of knowledge of alternative medicine system. It is estimated that Ayush is already a worth of $1 million market and is expected to grow the further thanks to the increasing global awareness about alternative medicine. Naturopathy, a prominent component of drugless system, has itself gained significant ground over the past few years globally, particularly with the rise of non-communicable and chronic diseases. The modern medicine remains unable to treat. It has the potential to achieve the positive health outcome for our population through better control and management of chronic diseases. The global naturopathy therapy market is projected to expand at a significant pace during the forecast period. In one of the survey conducted in National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health in the United States had reported that around 38% of adults and 12% of children were found using alternative and complementary therapy such as naturopathy for back pain, joint pain, arthritis, depression, stomach problems, migraine, insomnia, and many more. So let's hear something on reviving naturopathy in Europe, inspiration from India. So today we have with us our guest, Mr. Robert Mazure. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. And it's a real privilege to be included in this series of talks that you're giving and seminars and workshops commemorating the life of Mahatma Gandhi. So it's a real privilege for me to be here with you. So thank you very much for including me.
Yeah, thank you for coming all the way, sir.
My pleasure.
To speak something about...
So I'll introduce myself. My name's Robert Mazure. I'm a naturopath, acupuncturist, and massage therapist. And I spent 15 months in India. And during that 15 months, I spent a lot of time in your naturopathic hospitals, observing treatments and healing and patients and observing the results people would get. And I was really, really very inspired. And I also produced a 70-minute documentary on naturopathic healthcare while I was there in India, where you can see a number of different patients receiving treatments for a range of different conditions naturopathically, exclusively without the use of pharmaceutical drugs. And that's called Nature Cure the Revival, and it's up on YouTube, available for viewing. And currently I'm in the process of setting up a Nature Cure Center here in the UK, replicating the Indian model of naturopathic healthcare, which I think has a great deal to offer the world. And I'd like to talk to you about that today. So in India, you guys have naturopathic hospitals that are government approved, and patients attend those hospitals to receive treatment naturopathically, like I said, exclusively without pharmaceutical drugs. And collectively, that group of hospitals must treat on average 100,000 collectively. It must treat hundreds of thousands of patients each year for conditions such as high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cholesterol, obesity, and a range of other, like you mentioned, non-communicable diseases that are, first of all, placing unnecessary, burdensome healthcare costs on governments around the world, and certainly in this country as well, where we're facing a veritable healthcare crisis. So what I'd like to talk to you about is, where does naturopathy go from here? In India, you have a proven, sustainable, time-tested solution to the crises that we're facing here in the West. So where does naturopathy actually go from here? And so I was thinking that in order to talk about the future of naturopathy, it's interesting to look at the history of naturopathy. And in the context of this series of talks that are commemorating the life of Mahatma Gandhi, there's no better place to start than by looking at the world's favorite and most famous naturopath, Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes, Prabhu, it was nice information what you have said to us. So, and our viewers would like to really interesting to see something like what you have got experiences and thoughts on this. So let's begin with the session. So you're absolutely right. So almost everything else, Gandhiji was a naturopath, a pure naturopath.
Gandhiji was a naturopath.
Yeah.
So for our audience, especially our Western audience that are uninformed, like you said, Gandhiji was a naturopath, and he lived his life according to the laws of nature cure. For example, he repeatedly stressed the importance of taking responsibility for your own health. Now, this is very, very current in today's climate, that our health is our own responsibility. It's not an accident. There are things we can do to promote our own health. And that was one of the key messages that Gandhi would promote. Take responsibility for your health through diet and lifestyle. He was also a staunch vegetarian from birth, applying the laws of non-violence, ahimsa, in every aspect of his life. And he wrote several books on naturopathy, and one of those books itself was called Nature Cure. And if people Google Mahatma Gandhi, Nature Cure, PDF, then they'll see a listing of the book that he wrote, and they can read it for themselves.
So
Mahatma Gandhi was a naturopath, yes.
Yeah.
As well as all the other landmark achievements that he produced in his life.
So could you throw some light on how, let our viewers know that, could you just throw on light something like how did Mahatma Gandhi came across a nature cure?
Sure, absolutely. So Mahatma Gandhi was in London, I think it was around 1892, studying law in London. And Mahatma Gandhi was immersed in this very, very rich nature cure environment, which was ongoing at the time that he was visiting London to study law. And immediately he was captivated and illuminated by the nature cure movement, realizing the benefits to be gained by large Indian populations that didn't have means for effective healthcare services. And so in 1945, on November the 18th, he set up the All Indian Nature Cure Foundation in Pune. So my question to you is the All Indian Nature Cure Foundation, is that the National Institute of Naturopathy today?
Yes, definitely.
So that's the National Institute of Naturopathy today. That's incredible.
Yeah. So
very, very interesting.
Yeah. So could you share some experiences of as being a naturopath? I know how does the history is being throughout in India. So could you throw some light on how did the nature cure may have originated or something from your perspective from the European countries?
Sure. So nature cure originated in its more embryonic state in the UK. So the UK is famed for spa towns, and our most famous and oldest spa town of all is Bath Spa, which is as old, it dates back to Roman times, where it was called Aquae Sulis. And then in the late 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s, more spa towns emerged. So we have a Leamington Spa, and Harrogate Spa, and Matlock Spa, and Cheltenham Spa. Lots of spa towns where people used to come along, and the expression was take to the waters in order to facilitate their own healing and rejuvenation. And the very first major piece of work on hydrotherapy was actually written by an Englishman called Sir John Floyer in 1702. It is from a small city called Lichfield. And this piece of, and it was called The History of Cold Water Bathing, both ancient and modern. So that was the first major piece of hydrotherapy written in modern times. That's translated into German by Dr. Hahn, eventually leading to the emergence of naturopaths like Father Sebastian Kniep and Vincent Presnitz. So in that way, hydrotherapy traveled to Germany, where it became more of a system, where nature cure became a system of healthcare, where they'd add fasting, they'd add massage, they'd add exercise, they'd add nutrition and herbal medicine. It became more of a system of healthcare and eventually traveled to the States on instruction by Father Kniep, and it was installed by Benedict Lust and promoted there. And he set up the Water Cure Institute. He set up the Naturopathic Society, leading to the emergence of naturopaths like John Harvey Kellogg and Henry Lindlar. And then that practice re-infused the popular practice of naturopathy in the UK. And in 1925, our first authentic nature cure centre was set up called Champneys. Champneys today is known as a spa centre. It's a chain of spa centres, and it's very, very popular amongst the general public. And people go to that spa centre, the chain of spa centres, and other spa centres to relax for the weekend, to unwind. Originally, it was a nature cure centre. And in 1936, the founder, Stanley Leaf, who was actually born in Latvia but led naturopathy in the UK at the time, set up the British College of Naturopathy. So it was this very rich environment that Gandhi was immersed in when coming to London. He came a few times, not just in the late 1800s, about 3 or 4 times after that as well. However, after the Second World War, naturopathy, which was previously practiced with great enthusiasm and adopted and acknowledged as being highly effective for a very wide range of conditions, died a death after the Second World War due to the rise of pharmaceutical medicine. But what the history books don't record is that in 1945 it was installed by Mahatma Gandhi into India, where it took off like wildfire, and now India is the modern day home of naturopathy. And I've been lucky and fortunate enough to visited several of those hospitals.
Okay, so Definitely, I can understand your passion for getting from the whole of the historians, and of course, you do have that. You develop the over the time the interest in the naturopathy. So, could you just can you tell me how did you end up with the traveling to India, and which other hospitals have you visited? Like, how much time did you spend in India?
Sure, thank you very much. So in 2011, I just finished studying a naturopathy course, but this naturopathy course was actually a do-it-from-home course. It was a do-it-from-home course. It was a remote course. I didn't go into a college. I'd study everything from home. So as you can probably imagine, I was disillusioned. I didn't get it. I didn't understand naturopathy. I hadn't seen naturopathy being applied in a clinical environment because there are none here in the UK. There are no authentic nature cure centres as far as I'm concerned here in the UK whatsoever. There's a few credible places, but no authentic nature cure centres. So I was disillusioned at the time. And at the same time, I'd also heard a lot about Ayurveda. Okay, so I'd watched documentaries. There were no documentaries of naturopathy on the internet for me to watch. I'd watched documentaries of Ayurveda on the internet, especially The Art of Being, which is the greatest documentary on any natural system of medicine ever. And I was completely illuminated by what it was that I saw. So I originally went to India in 2011 for 4 months to do a short course in Ayurveda to see how I'd feel about coming over for 5.5 years and becoming an Ayurvedic doctor. So the plan was to come over for 5.5 years, become an Ayurvedic doctor, but come over 4 months first to see how I felt about it. But during that time, I also visited, as well as Ayurvedic hospitals, I visited nature cure hospitals. I visited my first nature cure hospital, and I completely got it. That's when I really got naturopathy, because I saw hydrotherapy being integrated with massage and acupuncture and yoga therapy, nutrition, fasting and juicing, and that was it. For me, it was just completely obvious, totally obvious, that naturopathy would totally work here in the West.
So, which hospitals have you visited during your visit?
Sure, absolutely. So, from 2014 to 2015, I returned for eight months, and I stayed at Dr. Shimji's hospital called Saukyam, which means wellness, in Kerala, near Bekalfort. And I was able to observe techniques, observe treatments, and take part in treatments. I was actually the resident acupuncturist there, and I'll be giving acupuncture to people with a range of different conditions. Really, really, really very interesting. I also visited, first of all, Gandhiji Nature Cure Hospital. So Gandhiji Nature Cure Hospital is famed for its treatment of patients with chronic kidney failure, patients that are on dialysis. In the West, a dialysis machine is a death sentence. Not if you visit Gandhiji Nature Cure Hospital in Thrissur, Kerala, run by Dr. Joshna, where they gradually wean patients off dialysis machine slowly as the markers for kidney illness come down, until they wean them off the dialysis machines and discharge the patients. They go on to lead healthy, happy lives, so long as they stick to the lifestyle protocols. So this flips Western medicine on its head. So that was extremely insightful for me. I also visited, in the spirit of naturopathy, Mahatma Nature Cure Center, a fasting center run by Dr. S.K. Madhavan. Patients attend to fast for 10, 20, 30 or longer days. And when I arrived, there was a lady, she was 71 years old. She had previously arrived in a wheelchair. She had hypothyroid, she was unable to walk. And at the time that I arrived, I think she'd been there for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. She was out of the wheelchair, walking around full of energy, full of life, and she was over the moon. And she's actually in the documentary that I made. So that was an incredible experience, to see how patients are integrated into long fasts, and to see how those long fasts are broken and they're taken out of the fast back into solid foods. That's very, very, very interesting. Actually, it reminds me of a quote that any fool can fast, but only a wise man knows how to break a fast. I also visited SVasa, Vivekananda Kendra, just outside Bangalore in Karnataka, run by Dr. Nagaratna, Dr. Nagendra. And it's widely acknowledged to be the world's leading yoga therapy research center. So while I was there, I was given a tour around the research labs, and it's explained to me how, for example, they'll take blood samples of subjects before yoga practice, they'll splice open the cells, analyze the DNA, the subjects will go off and practice yoga, they'll take further blood samples, splice open the cells, analyze the DNA, and really look at the effects right down to the DNA of yoga practice. And they're very unique there because they integrate yoga. They have extensive yoga modules there. In fact, they also have yoga modules for schizophrenia, which is really, really incredible. They integrate yoga, Ayurveda, and naturopathy there. And it's an ashram environment, and it's an amazing place to be. So I enjoyed my time there. And I also visited SDM Yoga Nature Cure Center just outside Mangalore in Karnataka. And that's run by the chief medical officer there, Prashant Shetty. And I think it was my visit there that really gave me the foundation for the documentary that I made. I stayed there for a month, a solid month. He organized for me to speak to all of the relevant key doctors and interview them all. I was able to interview all of the patients, observe all of the treatments, and he really opened the doors of the hospital to me for a whole month, and the doors of the medical school to me as well. And it was an incredible experience. What I saw there really, really illuminated me, because there's strict nature cure, yoga and naturopathy there. Like Prashant Shetty says, there's naturopathy for the body and yoga for the mind. And again, they treat tens of thousands of people there for the range of non-communicable diseases that we mentioned before: high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cholesterol, obesity, then skin conditions, arthritic problems, bladder problems, etc., etc. Very, very effectively. And it's a no-brainer to me that this is a proven, time-tested solution to the healthcare crisis that we're facing here in the UK and in other Western countries as well. And what I'd actually like to do is read you a quote just now. I was speaking to a specialist doctor in obstetrics and gynecology called Natalie Greenwald here in the UK. And this is what she said to me about the crisis that we're facing here, the healthcare crisis. She said the following. She said, "The quality of service will just go down and down until we start to have complications. The service will be burdened with litigation costs. Something has to be done to support the NHS. A solution is desperately needed." So I feel in India you have the solutions on a plate and it's ready to go. It's a no-brainer. You know, we're talking about the healthcare crisis here in the UK. We have like the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock. We have the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. We have the Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty, for the UK, all scratching their heads wondering what to do, or we have a solution on the plate that's ready to go. Time-tested, proven, sustainable.
Okay, so it looks like you're almost convinced with the naturopathy, what your brief background, what you have learned, something on the qualifications, what you have supported, and also what you have visited in the different hospitals, which also have give a lot of what I would say proof to say that naturopathy isn't tested, and surely everybody should try for that as to take it as a preventive approach more isn't. And once the things go on further, it's going to be more of a curative approach. So yes, so as you're convinced a lot, so can you do something like how can be a model of a naturopathy here in India would succeed in the UK?
How will the Indian model of naturopathy succeed in the UK?
Yeah.
So like for me, that's like immediately obvious. So first of all, if we look at the naturopathic modalities that are used in India, each of the component parts of the nature cure system have already radically been adopted by the general public here in the West, not just the UK, but all around the world. So if you look at yoga, adopted all around the world. If we look at like, even hydrotherapy, like I said, is very, very much in vogue here. To go to spa centers over the weekends, long weekends for couples to go and relax and unwind, hugely popular here in the West, not just the UK, in the West. Acupuncture, again, more as a therapist, I have more and more clients wanting to come and see me for acupuncture. But on top of that, we have the World Health Organization that have published a detailed list of conditions that acupuncture can be used very effectively to treat. And also some GPs are beginning to receive training in acupuncture. If we look at nutrition, another component part of naturopathy, more and more people are downloading apps onto their phone, counting glucose levels, counting calories. I was looking the other day, one of the most popular apps, 50 million downloads. 50 million downloads. Another component part, massage. Who doesn't like massage? Everybody loves massage. So each of the component parts have been radically adopted by the general public here in the UK, even fasting. As a therapist, I have more and more people coming to me, talking to me about their interest and curiosity in fasting. Talking to me now actually about intermittent fasting, not eating past 6 p.m. in the evening, or not eating until midday the next day, or not eating one day a week. So the curiosity is already there, and the component parts have already been radically adopted here in the West. So weave it together and present it as a system of healthcare. It's a no-brainer that it'll be adopted just as radically as its component parts.
So, like,
and then there's a plan. Then there's a plan to actually ensure that it will happen. So this is why I'm convinced that it will gain popularity. And then you're actually also asking me, well, how do we actually make it work? Correct? Is that the question you're asking?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So the question you're asking is, okay, how do we actually make it work? So I'm, like I mentioned to you, in the process of setting up a Nature Cure Center. And actually I have the support of SDM Yoga Nature Cure Hospital, the Chief Medical Officer, Prashant Shetty. He's agreed that for each center that I set up, they'll provide the relevant number of senior doctors, junior doctors, and therapists. So in that way, what we'll be doing is replicating the Indian model of naturopathic healthcare, the best in the world. And so we'll be in a position to offer the general public the highest level of naturopathic healthcare in the world outside of India. So that's the seed, okay? And that's where it all starts. But the vision is much, much bigger than that. So let me share the vision with you.
Please.
Yeah. The first of all, what I'd like to create, I'll show you the vision, then I'll go about telling you how it needs to be put in, how we create it. The vision is this: 200 to 300 Nature Cure centers in the UK, some accommodating 200 to 300 people. The installation of the Indian Nature Cure medical school system in the UK. So we install the Nature Cure medical school system here into the UK so that we home grow our own Nature Cure doctors, and growing up for our children and their children and becoming a Nature Cure doctor is a popular and realistic career choice. That's number 2. Goal number 3 is we install yoga into every single school in the country, because yoga has been shown to support the emotional development of our children, and it supports teachers in their role as educators. So in answer specifically to your question right now, how do we go about it and how do we actually get it done? This is how. The first center is a pilot center. So we record the results of all of our treatments, and we periodically present those results to our links within Western medical communities. Already I have several Western medical doctors very interested in the Nature Cure system. One in particular said to me, Robert, the range of conditions your system treats is exactly the range of conditions that are overburdening our National Health Service. Lots of interest already there. So periodically we present the results of our treatments to Western medical communities. Periodically as well, our center puts on seminars and workshops inviting doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals to our center to attend, to observe our techniques, to create interest, to create acknowledgement, and for them to take away simple techniques used in their own practices so they can see the results gained by their patients by using our simple techniques as well. Okay? After a significant body of clinical data has been amassed, our links within the Western medical communities will initiate and create a conversation with the government. And in time, the government will be made aware of the savings available to the government by aligning with Nature Cure. The government will be aware of the new sustainability of our National Health Service, which the lady, Natalie Greenwald, I'll read you the quote. She said, well, the quality of service will go down, people will end up in court. So the government, through these conversations initiated from our links with Western medical communities, will be aware of the savings to them, the sustainability of the NHS, and the health benefits to the general public through aligning with Nature Cure. Yeah? And the story is amazing because Nature Cure died a death. It was very, very popular over here in the West. It died a death. It was nurtured and developed by India. And now it's time for it to spread its wings and return back home to the UK. And it has the potential, this model can be used in any other Western country as well, not just the UK.
Yeah, so
that's how I think it gets done.
Okay.
It's alignment with Western medicine.
So could you just throw some light on what's the status of current NHS at the United Kingdom and the things regarding the lifestyle disorders?
Absolutely. So thank you very much. So I won't go into too much detail, but I'll just chuck a few facts at you. So first of all, the first fact is that the UK has the highest level of obesity amongst Western European countries, and that's doubled over the last 20 years. 63% of our adults are overweight, leading to a surge in type 2 diabetes, not only amongst adults, but amongst children. Childhood diabetes increased by 41%. Between 2015 and 2018, it increased by 41% as the junk food epidemic bites and takes its effect. And what's actually very, very sad is that these children will have had diabetes for several decades longer than adults. So the chances of complications, and the complications are very severe and debilitating, are very, very high, unfortunately. We have a think tank in the UK called the King's Fund, and this think tank develops healthcare policy for the UK. And they revealed in 2019, just last year, that from 2008 to 2019, the demand for outpatient services increased by 42%, and increased by 1.8 million people. The 99% of which, or 95% of which, or 100, is for the treatment of non-communicable diseases. So there's this range of non-communicable diseases that's causing structural problems amongst our NHS. They also revealed that out of 21 European countries surveyed, the UK had the second least number of doctors, nurses, and beds per number of patients in the country. And recently it was revealed that the number of GPs that we have has experienced its most sustained drop since the 1960s per capita. And so what we've got is a surging demand for services and an absolute reduction of resources to service that demand with. So clearly that crisis is existential and not sustainable.
Okay, so like I can understand that overview of what you're projecting regarding the NHS and how the diseases are burdening at especially in the European countries, especially because of the lifestyle. Yeah, of course there could be different factors would contribute for such kind of conditions. So I just wanted to get wanted to have a better knowledge, like what you just made us to understand the goals, what you're projecting something at the United Kingdom regarding starting with the naturopathy centers and the yoga school. So could you just brief us about how what steps have you taken to install to such kind of and develop such kind of an institute, especially the yoga? Yeah, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So all the planning is complete. The planning is complete. Even, for example, our ladies in place who would like to play a role as being the link between our center and Western medicine, who would like to present the results of treatments to those communities. Marketing is complete. All the planning, the entire planning process is complete. The financial planning is also complete. Just before COVID kicked in, I was about to source funding and set up meetings with various angel investors and present the project to them. COVID kicked in and put it like on the back burner, put the brakes on the project for the moment. But that's where I am just now. Everything's complete and we're literally ready to go, ready to start.
Okay. Especially you want to show something like throw the light on something called how you're going to introducing the yoga for school children or something?
Yoga for school children is very, very important. Right from the very outset, alongside our first Nature Cure Center, we're going to initiate a sister project aimed at installing yoga into schools around the country. Like I said, it's been shown through a number of different pilots to support the emotional development of children, to support teachers in their role as educators. Yoga has been shown, like I think you said at the very beginning of this talk, it's been shown, you said something similar, to be equally effective as antidepressant for mild cases of depression. And specifically in the context of schools and school children, it's been shown to have a marked impact on attendance, behavior, academic performance, punctuality, and also moral compass. So allow me to read to you a quote from Professor Satya Kalsa from the Harvard Medical School, whose lab installs yoga into schools around the country in the States. And I interviewed him for the documentary that I made, Nature Cured the Revival, on YouTube. And this is what he said to me. Let me just bring it up for you. One of the beauties of bringing yoga into the public school system is that you're now giving yoga to an entire generation. If we can implement yoga into every school in the country or in the world, after 3 generations, we will change society, because everyone will have experienced these types of self-regulation and awareness practices. And that's a game changer. So that was a beautiful quote. Is based on the acknowledgement that yoga has such a marked impact on moral compass and our value system, that it's not only being installed in schools here, there's also a drive here in the UK to install yoga into prisons to facilitate prisoner rehabilitation. And that's being led by the Prison Phoenix Trust. So we understand how this sort of transformation is available to people that really need it. And this is where my passion comes from, because when I was growing up, I was actually one of those young people that really needed it. So allow me to share that story with you.
Please, please.
I lacked the grounding and the direction. I lacked grounding and direction in my life, and instead took a very destructive path that had pretty profound consequences. As a kid, I used to hang around with a bunch of other kids that are just like me. Angry with a lack of self-esteem. Very, very dangerous combination. And I used to get myself in trouble with the police quite often. And I used to get myself arrested quite frequently for antisocial, petty things. Very often by the police. I was basically a delinquent, involved in delinquent behavior. And the kids that I used to hang out with were also like involved in breaking the law. And we used to be involved in feuds with other kids, okay? And one day we received threats from another person, some other group of kids, okay? I personally was very scared. I took these threats very seriously. I thought my life was in danger. And collectively, a group of us thought that we'd deal with the problem ourselves through violence, okay? And someone ended up getting killed. So I was subsequently arrested and put in prison for 4 years. And I spent half of that time in prison, 2 years. So I obviously know the reason why I'm sharing this with you is probably quite obvious, is because I know from my own personal experience that kids that end up, or young people that engage in this sort of antisocial behavior, crime and violence, the root of it is always going to be issues of self-worth. And kids will do absolutely anything to procure a sense of self-esteem, however twisted it might appear. So in the words of Satya Khalsa, when he said, if we can install yoga into schools around the country or around the world, and like he said, after 3 generations, in effect, we will be creating a new society, a new empathic, a new compassionate society. And this is still in line with the future of naturopathy. And you know, this series of talks is commemorating the life of Mahatma Gandhi. And I was thinking of everything that he did right from the beginning when he was in South Africa. You know, it was that actual austerity that he experienced and that suffering that he experienced brought out his passion and his strength. And his entire life was spent lifting people up and empowering people for them to be strong and independent, which he obviously achieved in the most remarkable fashion. And the future that naturopathy has available to it is literally exactly the same, to lift people up and to empower people and to create a new society that would all be proud to be a part of. And that's my vision for the future. That's my vision for the future of naturopathy.
Yeah, I guess it was wonderful it, and along like it have a lot of inspiration to take it the peoples who are globally who are being suffering and they really don't know what to and how to go further. So I would say they should definitely take inspiration from you and really to go further along with the take a help of a yoga and naturopathy as well. So it was nice talking to you, Mr. Robert, and I guess it should definitely inspire you, and we from India we really wish you best of luck to take this project and to make it flow globally. and to work it in a better place for the peoples to live a healthy lifestyle by approaching the naturopathy and yoga therapy.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being interviewed by you. It's been a pleasure being included in this series of talks. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes. So Robert, thank you so much. If once the question comes, we shall refer to you directly or we'll revert to you. Yes. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much as well.
So it was a nice session taken by Mr. Robert on giving us very detail of what he had taken inspiration from India about naturopathy and how did he is looking in the future to take it much more in a better place for the people to live and take a help of naturopathy. So continue with the program. So we will hear something on fasting in Hindi from Dr. Kajal.
हमने पिछले कुछ माना है कि वाइटैलिटी जीवन पोषण के कुछ संकेतक क्या हो बेस्ड ऑन दैट के ऊपर राष्ट्रीय उपवास का मतलब निश्चित समय के अपनी मर्जी भोजन की अनुपस्थिति। अगर हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे जीवन में हमारे शरीर में खून की जो बिल्डिंग है, खून की जो मतलब खून का जो बनना है, अगर वो होता रहे, प्राकृतिक आधार पर होता रहे, तो हमारे शरीर में से रुग्ण पदार्थों का निकलना बहुत ही आवश्यक है। अगर हम अपने शरीर को एक मशीन के तौर पर समझें और उसके पाचन तंत्र को एक इंजन के तौर पर समझें, तो हमारे शरीर में हमको लगता है कि जो खाना हम खाते हैं हमें उससे ऊर्जा मिलती है। इसी चीज को ध्यान में रखते हुए हम दिन में कम से कम 3 से 4 बार भोजन करते हैं। अगर हम कोई पाचन तंत्र को, किसी इंजन को 24 घंटे के लिए चालू रखेंगे, तो कुछ समय बाद उसकी कार्यशक्ति में प्रभावित होना, उसकी कार्यशक्ति का प्रभावित होना बहुत ही स्वाभाविक सी बात है। उसी तरह से जो हमारे जीवन का, जो हमारे शरीर का पाचन तंत्र है, उसका भी उसके कार्य पे प्रभावित होना बहुत स्वाभाविक बात है। हमारे शरीर के पाचन तंत्र को आराम देने के लिए हमें फास्टिंग करना, उपवास करना बहुत ही जरूरी है। फास्टिंग, उपवास एक बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से अपने प्राकृतिक चिकित्सक के दिशा निर्देश के अंडर करना चाहिए। फास्टिंग कैसे करना है, उसका आहार क्या है और उसको कैसे तोड़ना है, ये सारी चर्चा हमें अपने चिकित्सक से कर लेनी चाहिए। अगर हम फास्टिंग, अगर हम उपवास अच्छे तरीके से करते हैं, तो प्राकृतिक चिकित्सा में ऐसा कोई अभ्यास नहीं है जिससे हम अपने भोजन की तृष्णा को दबा सकें। उपवास एक ऐसी चीज है जिससे हमें पता चलता है, जिससे हमें शक्ति मिलती है कि हम अपने मनुष्य की बुनियादी प्रकृति पर भी विजय पा सकते हैं। इसीलिए डॉक्टर वेंकट राव ने पंचतंत्रा की चर्चा करते हुए कहा है कि हमें कम से कम हफ्ते में 1 बार उपवास जरूर करना चाहिए। मैं अपनी आज की इस चर्चा को यहीं पे समाप्त करते हुए कल मैं आपके सामने दिसंबर मास का विषय लेकर प्रस्तुत करूंगी। धन्यवाद।
For providing insights on fasting. Yeah, so yes, the fasting, the way Dr. Kajal narrated and focusing about how does a digestive system have a much more correlation with keeping stomach in empty, and how does it's been related much more to get away from the disorder, because we consider in naturopathy as a stomach is the main or the food is the main source, where if the two things are combined in very well coordination, the most of the diseases can be stopped. And in that process, what is going to be benefited more is with the fasting. So अगर उपवास रखेंगे तो उपवास का फायदा जो है वो उतना ही अच्छे तरह से होगा जैसे एक हम किसी भी बाइक को या फिर गाड़ी को अगर उसको हम थोड़ा सा सर्विसिंग करवाते हैं और उस हिसाब से जिस तरह से वो अपना परफॉर्मेंस देती है, इट्स अ सेम कोरिलेशन where you give a good amount of rest to the bodily system, especially the stomach and intestine. It's going to work in a much more better way and performing way. So as the session was brief and given by our guest, Mr. Robert Mazure, as this session was a recorded session, so I request the viewers to pose the questions and we will direct our guest for the answers in the upcoming days. So as we are now at the end of the session, as we leave here in a great afternoon, I just want to say thanks. We are now at the end of the program. Firstly, I thanks our guest of honor, Mr. Robert Mazure, for sharing his thoughts and view at today's program. I also thank Director of NIN for arranging such thoughtful series of webinars. And last but not the least, the Technical Committee of NIN for making the best efforts for such arrangements. And thank you to you all. So we will stay tuned for another session on tomorrow to know more about Gandhi's insights on health. I, Dr. Ajinkya Pawar, signing off. Thank you one and all. Namaskar.